Okay, I'd like to bring the meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Secretary, call the roll.
Aiello.
Here.
Barry, here. Casper.
Here.
Jackson.
Here.
Lloyd.
Here.
Nenza.
Here.
Malloy.
First, attendance report.
Yes, thank you. Very excited to introduce Wendy, who's going to introduce a little video presentation we have for this year's 8th grade Keppel Award winners.
All right, thank you, Dr. Staywick. I am very excited to share the video with you this year. As you know, we hold the Math Challenge every year, and for students who participate in the Math Challenge in grades 1 through 8 and achieve some high performance in those competitions, they receive what's called the Keppel Award. Unfortunately, due to COVID this year, we weren't able to hold the Math Challenge. So this year, we're going to be recognizing our 8th graders who participated in grades 1 through 7 and achieved high performance in those competitions. I want to give a nice thank you to Keegan for putting this nice little video tribute to our 8th grade Keppel Award winners. So hope you enjoy it.
Hi, my name is Benjamin James.
Hi, my name is Celia Lindhocken.
Hi, I'm Jacob Nenza.
My name is Elizabeth Thompson.
I am Hannah Shalaby.
The advice that I would offer is to just keep on trying to reach your goal, and that if you just practice a little bit every day, it'll help you with achieving it more.
The advice that I would give to other students is not to directly focus on the award, but rather to focus on the math that gets you there. Because the award is that you were in the top 16 for all 8 years, and that can be affected by the fact that if you were in 1st grade and you weren't exactly mature enough to get necessarily the highest score on the test, but you were in 2nd grade onward, then you can't get it. So if you just focus on doing your best and the best that you can do, then you can be great even if you don't get the award.
Mainly just always try to further your learning. What you learn in class is great, and then you always just want to try and extend it yourself.
I would tell other students that would like to win this award to never stop working your hardest, because it'll always pay off. And I have seen that happen to me in the past 7 or 8 years.
Well, you can't be lazy, because it really is up to us to decide what we're going to do with ourselves and with our lives. And even though things might come to us easy now, in the future they won't. Nobody gets anywhere without a good struggle. So it's never too early to start maturing yourself. When they give you practice tests, use the practice tests and just do what you can. Be proactive.
What inspired me to be successful in math is I want to go down a college path, and I want to have a math major, so helping me out was being in the Math Challenge.
What inspired me to be so successful in math is that it's one of my more natural gifts. So I was always happy that I could do it. So that inspired me to keep going, because I got the satisfaction of doing it every time.
All of my teachers and my mom and dad have always pushed me to learn more, do better in school, and just try to be the best I can.
My mom inspired me to do math because she is a math teacher.
Well, my family and friends have always been really supportive and really encouraging, but one person who I know has definitely made an impact on my life would be my elementary school accelerated math teacher, Mrs. Buchanan. She has always encouraged us and inspired us that if we can do anything that we put our mind to. And when I found out that this award was even a thing, I was really determined to go for it, in a way just to prove myself to her and to prove that she really does help me and she helped me get here, so I really appreciate her for that.
One of the best parts of being in the math challenge was probably working with team members to solve the more complicated math problems.
So when I was, I believe, from second grade onward, they gave us honey pretzel sticks, which were very delicious, and the math challenge can be kind of a very anxious time because it's a lot of hard tests, and the break of being able to do that and chat with people that in 6th grade and onward you knew, but before then you necessarily did know, was always very fun.
Hanging out with friends and just eating snacks and doing math has always been such a draw for me. It's super fun.
And the best part about all the math challenges was probably all the people I met, because I did it with kids in 1st grade and now I'm in the same class as them in middle school, which is kind of cool to have known them for like 5 years before I came to middle school.
I think that personally, getting to collaborate with my peers, having teammates, just getting that social aspect in while doing math was really fun and always beneficial to me as like a mental boost when we were doing things. Seeing that there's other people with me, and a lot of the time we always shared the same interests, it was always just so great and I loved working with them.
That was awesome. Egan, thank you. Vern, thank you so much. Wendy, thank you very much. Oh, that's the good stuff. I have a COVID update for the board. Our commitment survey results are coming in. So far, we've had 1,910 responses. So we've got about 300 families that we haven't heard from yet. And we're beginning to make phone calls to those homes now. And so far, 76% of respondents have selected in-person, and 24% have selected full remote, and that's consistent with our projections. So no real surprises there. I want to update the board on the state of COVID in our area. I reviewed with you some time ago the two different metrics that are being used to determine the severity of transmission. First is the cases per 100,000, and the state of Illinois is currently at 92, Cook County is at 90, and the District 146 community is at 117. And the positivity rates are 2.8 for the state of Illinois, 2.9 for Cook County, and 5.6 for our three towns. And that's continuing that trend in the right direction, so we're happy to report that. We are in the process of not only planning and scheduling for the new programs on April 5th, but also updating our transition plan. You'll recall in October we wrote a plan with all of our district regs and descriptions of our programs. Obviously, many of those are changing now, so we're updating that plan. Some of the changes are with the new volume. Obviously, students won't be one to a seat in buses anymore, so principals are going to pair them up with either a sibling or a close classmate that they may be near during the day anyway. We are insisting on a 3-foot minimum distance in all classrooms and 6 feet for lunch and band and choir, and outside to be unmasked. We are going to be reopening playgrounds on April 5th as well, and students will be able to play outside without masks as they do now, but if they're going to be using the playground equipment itself, they're going to, unless they're using them by themselves, they're going to be required to be masked. There's just no way for us to ensure 6 feet of distance between kids that are playing on playground implements. So to play on those equipment, they'll be wearing their masks. And then 6 feet at lunch, unmasked. There's one question about whether or not the health departments are going to give us some relief from the max 50 students in one place requirement. That makes perfect logical sense to me for restaurants, public, where it'd be difficult to insist that people keep their distance if there were more than that. But in a large gymnasium where we've got seats placed 6 feet apart, there's some question about whether or not schools can do some things that the public can't. And I think one of them is feed more than 50 people in one space if the requirement of 6 feet distance is met. So we're currently having conversations with the health departments and with the state about that specific idea. Of course, we won't be violating that. If we don't get relief from that, then we'll just find a way to rotate folks through. And there has been some relief as you can divide the room. For example, when we have the curtain down in the gym, that's considered 2 spaces instead of 1. The curtain is an adequate barrier. So we would be able to do 50 on each side if there's room to have them 6 feet apart. So those are just some of the basic challenges that we're facing right now. And so far, the planning is going very well. Besides COVID, I just have a few condolences. The first is Tiffany Hall's mother-in-law passed away. Tiffany is the district's birth to 3 coordinator. Colette Emick's father passed away. Colette is an LBS at Fulton. Amy Oxford's father-in-law passed away. Amy is a speech pathologist at Fulton. So we extend our deepest sympathy to these faculty and staff members and their families. And that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Next up, is there any citizens that would like to address the board?
Good evening. My name is Shane Wilson. I have a son here at Central. When we met a week ago at the Committee of the Whole meeting, Dr. Staywick said that in order to make the transition to this new school model work, he said, and I quote, "Someone's going to have to pay." And when I look at what's going to happen for the last 8 weeks of the school, it's very clear to me that you've made the decision that it's remote kids who are going to pay. You know, this board, for its governance, relies upon the expertise of the administrators and the teachers they hire. These are people, tops in their fields, with masters and doctorates. And instead of listening to them, we've run roughshod over them. The administration said, we want to keep doing what we're doing. We think the hybrid's the best way to go. And you said no. The teachers, 84% of them said that the negatives of this plan far outweigh the positives, especially at one of the most critical times of the school year. And the response was, we don't believe you. I hear the numbers that Dr. Staywick has presented, that 75% of the families have made this choice to go back to school in person. And I feel like that's a choice you forced upon them. It wasn't a real choice. I'm constantly being told this is about choice, that parents want to make have the chance to make the choice they think is most appropriate, is safest. I get that. This is not a real choice. We certainly didn't give a choice to teachers. 84% of them said, we don't think this is a good idea. And you rejected them. And in fact, 60 of our teachers have requested special consideration for health vulnerabilities. And our response is, well, we'll find a way to get you back. We will talk to your doctors and see if we can make sure that you come back, because it's all contingent upon getting those doctors back. It's not about giving them a choice. You didn't even give all parents a real choice. The survey that you passed out was different depending on your current status. It asked hybrid families, would you rather keep the status quo, or would you like to gain more of what you want? For remote families, you asked, what would you like to lose? Would you like to lose your child's teachers who you've had, or would you like to lose the method of instruction that they've been enjoying? That's not a choice, that's putting your thumb on the scale. I would be very curious to know how many of the parents who are going from remote to in-person are doing it because they're terrified of losing whatever gains their student has made over the course of this school year so far. A choice where one group is promised that they can gain something and the other choice is being told you are definitely going to lose something is not a choice at all. It's putting your thumb on the scale. I read the oath that you take as school board members, and there's a passage that says, I shall assist in establishing a structure and an environment designed to ensure all students have the opportunity to attain their maximum potential through a sound organizational framework. I would argue that the means that you have gone about making the choices you have made in the past 2 weeks are not sound. They're being thrown together in a rush to meet this arbitrary deadline of the end of spring break. And I would argue that this is not all students, that this is a framework that favors a group of have students over a group of have-not students. It may appear like it's representing the will of the people, especially how many people have stood up like me who don't even have children in the district and told you that you need to make this move. But I know I'm not alone feeling this way. There aren't remote families here. They're remote for a reason. There is still a pandemic going on. The numbers Dr. Staywick read are encouraging, but they don't indicate that the pandemic is gone, nor do they indicate that in any way the path is going to abate within the next month or the next 2 months. We deserve to be heard. We deserve to be heard and considered in your plan and not be told, oh, well, we'll fix it. We'll make it okay. It'll be all right for you. You know, to make this a fair choice, if you really wanted this to be fair, you'd do a real survey. You would start over and actually tell all families, these are our options, that you can have, we will try and give you the full day experience. We will try and pursue the hybrid. These are the consequences. That's not what you did. You split it up to get a result that you wanted. I encourage you to give parents, to give teachers, to give the people who run these schools on your behalf a real choice. And I encourage you to live up to your oath and to work for all students and to ensure that all students have the opportunity that we owe them.
Would anybody else like to address the board?
Hello? Oh, sure. Hello, my name's Michelle, and I have a son at CMS. I used to work for the American Bar Association, and I kept a little plaque on my wall, and it said, "The law is for the weak and vulnerable, because the strong and powerful have other means available to them." And that helped me stay focused on who I was there to serve. I'm not sure that the board is staying focused on all of the kids that they serve and all of their constituents. And when I'm feeling mad about that, I try to be compassionate. I try to remember that all of us are coming from a place of scarcity. And scarcity does weird things to people. At the beginning of this pandemic, there was a scarcity of toilet paper and soap and soup. For the past year, we have also had a scarcity of smiles and soft expressions behind masks that help us connect. We've had a scarcity of friendship and a scarcity of community. It is remarkable that in this space of scarcity, Dr. Staywick, if you can allow me to use a food analogy, for the past 2 trimesters, you have somehow rationed resources to ensure all your constituents have been, in quotes, fed. And what I mean by that is that the current hybrid remote model distributes resources equitably. Hybrid students get 45 minutes of core classes, while remote students get 35 minutes. Over a 40-day period, although it's a shortage of 400 minutes for the remote kids, although it's not exactly even Steven, it is truly the best you can do. It is equitable. And that is happening because the teachers are making a Herculean effort to make that possible. We are constantly grateful about that, constantly seeing the evidence of their care, their concern, and their dedication. It comes with much sacrifice. They have less planning time, hypervigilant hygiene, masking and cleaning, and teaching material twice in their day. Again, if we use the food analogy, everyone in this current model is being fed. And it is because of these incredible teachers. But admittedly, we're all a little bit hungry, right? We're all wishing we could go to the table in a place of bounty and experience feeling full like we used to. We all are feeling that. And during, it's not a feast. We're not leaving the table full, but we are leaving fed with enough. And during times of scarcity, I'm okay with that. I want to be part of a community that cares and shares so that everyone has a fair amount on their plate. And I would not be comfortable taking something off someone else's plate so I could have more if it meant they had significantly less. And this new plan does that. It shifts resources off the plates of some students to make the plates of other students full. By moving to full time, you are cutting off remote students from equitable access to their education. Dr. Staywick, you mentioned you're blessed with a family of 6 kids. Sometimes it must feel crowded or loud or distracting in your home. Our home is sometimes too quiet. We just have one. I am asking you, please do not abandon our child the way he was abandoned last spring. The isolation was dangerously unbearable and left us feeling very alone. But we are not alone. That facts you shared a couple of weeks ago, there are 871 remote families. And of the 207 tiered students, 200 are remote. This board has an obligation to look out for the weak and the vulnerable. Instead, it has used its power and influence to take from the people who are most in need for the benefit of only a portion of the district. I will be expressing my dissatisfaction the day after this plan goes into effect at the polls, April 6th. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to address the board? Okay, moving on, union report. No union report. Moving on to action items. Can I have a motion for consent agenda?
I move that we pass items 6.1, approval of minutes, 6.2, approval of closed session minutes, 6.3, approval of destruction of closed session tapes, 6.4, the approval of financial items, and 6.5, the approval of personnel items.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, Secretary, call the roll.
Aiello,
Yes.
Barry, yes. Casper,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Lloyd,
Yes.
Nenza,
Yes.
Malloy.
Yes. 6.6, approval of resolution for honorable dismissal of teachers.
Yes, as the board knows, a school district can increase the size of its staff anytime it wants throughout the school year. However, there's only one time in the year that it can make its staff smaller, and that is this time of year. So what we do is we take our best projections for what we're going to need next year, and then take a conservative picture of that so that we make sure that we don't have too many of one type of employee next year as good stewards of taxpayer dollars. As a result, the people on the list in 6.6 are being honorably dismissed, and they will be recalled for jobs as soon as openings allow themselves. In many of the districts that I've worked in the past, they have honorably dismissed a whole category of employees, all first-year teacher or all pre-tenured teachers, and that is really disruptive to a lot of people's lives. So we take a more challenging approach in 146 where we really grind out how we expect to staff next year. We're conservative enough to make sure that we don't have too many of anybody, but we also reduce this dismissal action to the smallest number possible and in still being good stewards. So I'm asking you to approve the resolution for the honorable dismissal of the teachers listed in the action.
Is there a motion?
My mic's
I move that we approve item 6.6, approval of resolution of honorable dismissal of teachers as presented.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Okay, Secretary, call the roll.
Aiello.
Yes.
Barry, yes. Casper.
Yes.
Jackson.
Yes.
Lloyd.
Yes.
Nenza.
Yes.
Malloy.
Yes. 6.7, approval of administrator contracts for 2021, 2022.
Yes, thank you. So the administration's been working very hard in really unusual and uncertain times. We're going to need the lot of them to continue doing so next year. It's my pleasure then to recommend the renewal of the administrators listed in the action.
I move to approval of administrator contracts for 21-22 school year as presented.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, Secretary, call the roll.
Aiello.
Yes.
Barry. Yes.
Nope, keep going.
Casper.
Yes.
Jackson.
Yes.
Lloyd.
Yes.
Nenza.
Yes.
Yes. 6.8, approval of calendar for 2021, 2022.
Yes, it's my pleasure on behalf of the calendar committee to present this calendar for the board's ratification tonight. There have been no changes to the calendar since you saw the preliminary calendar at the last regular meeting.
Okay, is there a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve the school calendar for 2021, 2022 as presented.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Okay, Secretary, call the roll.
Aiello.
Yes.
Barry, yes. Casper.
Yes.
Jackson.
Yes.
Lloyd.
Yes.
Nenza.
Yes.
Malloy.
Yes. 6.9, approval of transportation contract with American School Bus Company for regular education.
Yes, no change from last month. It's a 3% increase for our regular ed, and it also builds in a 37% payment if we happen to have a complete shutdown next year. That's now just part of the contract. But I'm recommending approval. I think it's a fair increase, and it avoids having to go out to bid.
Okay, is there a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve the bus contract with American School Bus Company for the 2021, 2022 school year as presented.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, Secretary, call the roll.
Aiello.
Yes.
Barry, yes. Casper.
Yes.
Jackson.
Yes.
Lloyd.
Yes.
Nenza.
Yes.
Malloy.
Yes. 6.10, approval of resolution education a portion of the tax levy for the year 2020 to pay debt service and the general obligation refunding school bonds, Series 2014 of District 146.
Yes, just mechanically, abatements come out of the bond and interest fund, and then, but we don't have excess funds in the bond and interest fund, so we're transferring it from the ed fund. It's still the same $1 million abatement that we've been talking about. We had talked about an option of doing it over 3 years, but this is the recommendation to do it all in 1 year, just for smoothing out the repayment purposes.
Okay, is there a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve the resolution transferring funds from the Educational Fund of D-146 to the Bond and Interest Fund and abating a portion of the taxes levied for the year 2020 to pay debt service on the general obligation refunding school bonds, Series 2014 of School District 146.
Second?
Is there any discussion? Okay, Secretary, call the roll.
Aiello?
Yes.
Barry, yes. Casper?
Yes.
Jackson?
Yes.
Lloyd?
Yes.
Nenza?
Yes.
Malloy?
Yes. 6.11, approval of cruise ferry bid.
Yes, we had a good bid opening on March 2nd for the second phase of Ferric and Cruise renovations. We had bids from 7 different companies, and the prices came in better than we were hoping for. And the low bidder was HAP Builders, which DLA has vetted. They have worked with them before, and the recommendation is to go with HAP as the low bidder.
Right, is there a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve the bid from HAP Builders Incorporated with a base bid in the amount of $1,188,000 and an alternate number 2 in the amount of $97,800 for a total contract amount of $1,285,800.
Second?
Okay, is there any discussion? Okay, Secretary, call the roll.
Aiello?
Yes.
Barry, yes. Casper?
Yes.
Jackson?
Yes.
Lloyd?
Yes.
Nenza?
Yes.
Malloy?
Okay, next item is communications.
That's me? Okay. Board of Education, thank you so much for the flowers. I appreciate your thoughtfulness during this difficult time. Sharon Steck.
Need a motion for adjournment.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, Secretary, call the roll.
Aiello?
Yes.
Barry, yes. Casper?
Yes.
Jackson?
Yes.
Lloyd?
Yes.
Nenza?
Yes.
Malloy?
Yes. We are adjourned.